From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, takeaways from the second scrimmage after Mike Norvell's comments at the podium. Is Usman Kromah for real? And we play a little either or. Which of these dudes needs to be at their best for Florida State to be at their best? Also, my bad, the first 20 minutes, my audio may be a little bit janky. It gets better. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it and take it, everybody. Sip the juice. One little bottle, not even 2 fluid ounces, synergistically formulated to give you all the vitamins and nutrients you need to get throughout your day. The 260 milligrams of all-natural caffeine. If you get the extra strength variety, a little bit of green tea extract spread on there. Vitamins to help out with your focus or your mood or your immune response or your hydration levels or your pump in the gym. Try the variety pack. Find which one you like best. All sorts of different flavors, too. The sour apple, the blue raspberry, the tango orange. Delicious, I think, everybody. Give it a try. Shake it and take it. VitaminEnergy.com. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Great thing about a website, we're never closed. We're open around the clock. Busy, late Sunday night, everybody, with the second scrimmage finally going down for the Noles after their little mini camp in Jacksonville. Corey Clark with the live transcription going down. But if you didn't check out all that because you're not a subscriber, well, we're going to talk about it all for the next 30 or 40 minutes. But you should subscribe to warchant.com so you don't have to wait for this podcast to drop and to hear us yap. But with that said, can't wait to hear you yap today. How's your weekend been, Corey Clark? How are you, my friend?
It was good. Had a nice time up in Atlanta. Stephanie brought her daughter up, so I got to hang out with them for a few days, and I got to hang out with my mom again, see my son for a little bit. It was all good stuff, man. All good stuff.
So she's Steph's daughter heading up to start her collegiate career as a swimmer as well, yes? Or just
2 weekends? Yeah, like 10 days from now is when she moves in. Yeah, okay. She'll move into her college middle of like August 22nd or something.
Okay. All right,
Stephanie's not handling it well.
Oh, well, she's the first one, right? And the daughter, she's the golden child too. So yeah.
Yes, yep. Steph is not handling it well.
No pressure. Okay. Enough preamble. Let's get to the sports, the football, everybody. Corey, I did tell myself that I've never been a fan of this whole narrative that don't panic if the defense is ahead of the offense early in camp. That's the way it is. Defenses are always ahead of the offense. And I'm like, you know what? I think at one point in this offseason, I was like, that's all I want to hear in the fall. I just want to hear the offense is ahead of the defense. Now, some people might freak out and be like, oh, well, that means the defense. I don't care. I do not care if it means the defense is not good. I don't care. I want to hear the offense is ahead of the defense. I don't know if Mike Norvell explicitly said that, Corey, but after hearing 2 scrimmages worth of kind of takeaways from him, and we'll get Tony White and Gus Malls on later today, to me it sounds like the offense is making bigger plays and might be outperforming the defense. I'm all about it. What do you take away from what you heard from Mike on Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's hard to know. It's him talking. We're not watching it, so we don't know exactly who's ahead of who. It does sound like the offense has not been turning the ball over a lot, which is nice. That's a refreshing change of pace. And honestly, Castellanos didn't turn the ball over a lot last year either. He did his first year, but not his second year at Boston College. But the fact that they're hitting some big plays with the wideouts, man, that's what gets me kind of excited. We already know about Deuce in the last scrimmage. We saw the video of that. And then Squirrel White apparently had a couple of really big ones. We know he had a big one in Jacksonville, and then he had a couple of big ones in the scrimmage, including a long touchdown, Norvell said. That to me is – and the way he talked about Castellanos on Sunday night, I would encourage everyone to – and I always do – I'd encourage everyone to go watch that video. He seemed like I don't know, man, like Giddy's way too strong. But very, very confident in what he saw from his quarterback because of the way he responded after he threw one of those rare interceptions, which we can get into. Jeremiah, call me Jerry Wilson, made a great play, according to Norvell, to pick off Castellanos. And then Castellanos came right, which is great, man. That's awesome. They intercepted 4 passes all last year. So we want to see more of that. But then Castellanos coming right back and leading 2 straight touchdown drives is a really, really cool response and something you desperately want to see from a Florida State quarterback.
Yeah, again, offense making big plays, scoring points. I know it's at the detriment of your defense, but you just feel like this defense will be able to come together. You just want to have a competent offense. I don't know how much of that, Corey, just goes back to how bad last year was. I know the defense, by most any metric, was not a great performing unit. Obviously, we've talked about their lack of physicality and just aesthetically the way they look, but the offense was just such a downer that when you hear about your quarterback, maybe making a mistake on the first drive of the day, but then coming back and leading 2 straight touchdown drives, you hear a name like Squirrel White's making plays, Kromah's making plays again. These are the pieces that you need to perform at a high level to get probably the best out of this roster. So I'll take it, even if it means the defense might be kind of on their heels right now. But it really does kind of underscore needing Tommy to be all the good parts that he is, right, Corey? As you mentioned, 2024, taking care of the ball better, but 2023 just being so dynamic and such a big play threat. It's not a crazy stretch to think that you can maybe not get the best of both of those worlds, but a good amount of both of those worlds and put it together in a 2025 season that looks really, really good.
Yeah, yes, but the thing with Castellanos is we know what he can do with his legs, and quite frankly, he proved a little bit last year with his arm. I mean, he was maybe not the most efficient as far as QB rating, but he didn't turn the ball over, and he had a pretty high completion percentage, at least relative to what he did as a freshman. It's the players around him. Like, we know Castellanos is going to make plays. Who's he going to be throwing the ball to? And we didn't hear the tight ends mentioned by Norvell on Sunday, but we also didn't ask. But when you're talking about Squirrel White, Deuce Robinson, obviously you know about Micahi Danzy. I'm not sure what to make of the way Norvell talked about him. We'll get to that in a second. But then, Javon Boggs, Kromah, that Pittman and Landon Thomas, especially Pittman, are out there, and they're gonna. He mentioned Amari Williams, actually.
He did.
Is a guy on offense that made some plays, which I thought was interesting. So, and that might have something to do now with the news about Jayson Jenkins. That maybe Amari Williams isn't needed so desperately on defense now that Jayson Jenkins actually went live on Sunday night in that scrimmage. Like, he's good to go. I mean, I don't know if he's 100%, but if they're scrimmaging with him, he's going to play against Alabama as long as he stays healthy. So that is another body added to the defensive line that you might not have expected. Jaden Jones as well. Jaden Jones's ascension might have made it where Amari Williams can be used more on offense, especially if Landon Thomas is limited, which is what Norvell said and what we'd heard. So, yeah, man, I think there's some pieces to be excited about. Not 2013 pieces, but there's pieces to be excited about. You've got a quarterback that can play and has made plays. You've got a freshman running back that might be a star. He's not going to be a star right away, but he's a star running back. You've got 2 good wide receivers that are experienced, that are making plays, and you got some young dudes pushing them. I keep coming back to, like, that's how programs are built. But it's also on the other side of the ball. I was really struck when he brought up, it's Arnoux, right?
Yes.
DB?
Duty. Shamar Arnoux, yes.
Yeah, it sounds like Aslan, he's going to be too good a player to have that nickname. I'm just throwing it out there.
Dude, I think it's spelled Dudie. So maybe he's like the dude.
Yeah, I know. I know it's probably not about like
bodily function or whatever.
Yeah, it's not a bodily function, but it's just that's what people are always going to think when they hear it. And the reason I bring him up is because, look, man, Tony White praises that guy anytime he talks about him. Says he's an NFL corner. He's got what it takes. He's the dude. He's going to be a dude. I guess he's going to be a duty.
He's him.
He's him. All that. And then on Sunday night, Norvell brought him up as making an incredibly impressive physical tackle that caused a fumble. And again, what I love about that is I don't know that he's going to play much this year as a true freshman. He could. I'm not limiting him, but probably not. He's got the Charles Lester, Kai Bates, and Quindarius and Jeremiah Wilson all in front of him. Ricky Knight will be hard for him to get on the field. But that push, a kid like that going out there and making plays and saying, "Look at me, like I'm here, like I'm not waiting my turn. I'm here to play." It sounds like you're hearing that with the freshman running backs, the freshman wide receivers. And then the freshman DB, that's just, it's not you're not going to hit 100% on your recruiting class. And I have no idea how good any of these guys are. But, man, that is good here. That is just a good sign. And then the twins, you keep hearing about them. Like all these guys that are pushing the upperclassmen, that's how stuff gets built. Either they break through the ceiling and they play in front of the upperclassmen, or they raise the upperclassmen's game to make sure those upperclassmen stay on the field. They push them, they compete with them to make them better. At any case, they're making it. They're getting better. They're learning. It's all a good thing when you're hearing the young guys talked about like that.
Running backs. You asked Mike Norvell, really good direct question. Who was your best running back tonight after the scrimmage on Sunday?
And what was his answer, Aslan?
I was going to ask you. I don't know. I feel like he gave us a lot of names, but I think Ousmane was the first name that he did mention. But Sam Singleton got mentioned. But it seemed more in the context of special teams work. How did you interpret what he said?
Well, look, he literally mentioned every running back when I asked him that. So direct or not, it didn't matter. He was going to say what he wanted to say. But I think it's telling that first instinct. Who did he say first?
Ousmane Kromah.
Yep, it's the first person he mentioned. Then mentioned Sawchuk, mentioned Roydell's been good all around, and everybody else. Literally, he mentioned everybody else. He mentioned, I think, Keziah did some things, he said. But Ousmane Kromah, although he didn't give him a ton of praise because he just kind of moved on, that's the first guy he mentioned. Mentioned that he had 2 touchdowns in red zone drills. And when you see what he's doing on these videos that they're tweeting out, and the way they talked about his block, okay, man, we knew he was big. We knew he was physical for a freshman. But he might just be good. Like, he just might be already the guy that could be the dude by the time the end of September rolls around. He might be your guy. I think Sawchuk, Sawchuk is great competition. Sawchuk's not a pushover, man.
No.
This isn't like when, I don't even remember who the running back was when Cam Akers showed up. But
Jacques?
It's maybe, I guess, but he might have been dinged up. I don't remember, but like this isn't that. This isn't where it's going to be Kromah's job immediately. You're just biding your time. Like Sawchuk's going to fight for that thing. Roydell's 23 years old. He's probably not going to be all fired up about a freshman coming in and taking his carries. So all that stuff lends itself to a really good, healthy competition. Which again, and at the end of the day, the new guy might be the best guy. And I have all the faith in the world that if the new guy is the best guy, Gus Malzahn is going to play the new guy.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to come back to Micahi Danzy?
Yeah, so he said, he mentioned Squirrel White having the 2 long plays, and then he mentioned Micahi Danzy having another big special type long play in the scrimmage. I don't know what kind of play it was, but mentioned him again, said it was a long play, a big play. And then somebody asked him about Danzy, and he's like, he didn't practice much at all because he's moving receiver from running back. He didn't practice much at all in the spring. He was getting mental reps. He was in meeting rooms, but obviously he was doing track. And then the way he talked about Danzy, like, yeah, he's growing in his confidence, but we still want to see more from him. And he talked about it in the context of there's more to just being a good wide receiver than running routes. There's knowing where to be. There's blocking. There's alignment, not being confused, all that stuff. Going and making plays with the ball. But the fact that he didn't just heap praise on Danzy, but actually kind of like put his hands up a little bit, like, okay, slow down. He's still got a lot to learn. I don't know, man. To me, it struck me as like he doesn't want to get too ahead of himself, but Danzy might be a guy this year. Like, he might be a guy that helps them this year. You hear his name in the scrimmage more than anybody else almost. Now, it's only been a few plays, but as he said, when you do something with the ball, when you make plays with the ball in your hand, you're going to continue to get opportunities. And so it sounds like Danzy's going to continue to get opportunities.
I like how you mentioned it a few minutes ago about if the new guy's the best guy, Gus Malzahn's not going to hesitate to play the new guy. And when we sit here and talk about Danzy, and I don't know, consciously, subconsciously, whatever you want to call it, but not that I think Mike was ever hesitant to play a true freshman, but there's nothing to lose. I mean, what are you keeping anybody? I mean, what's using a red shirt for? Like, why not deploy a guy like Micahi Danzy now? Right? I mean, just in the day of the transfer portal, guys aren't happy. They can leave whenever they want, and they'll have plenty of inducement to do so. If we're talking about Duty, if we're talking about Danzy, if we're talking about Amari Williams figuring out where he fits in best, or Ousmane maybe taking, 50% of the carries against Alabama. Like, at this point, if they're performing, why not?
Well, the good news is that Malzahn doesn't feel indebted to any of them. Like, they're not his guys. He is going to play. He's going to be the ultimate talent judge and arbiter, and there's going to be no
What about Mike, too, though? I mean, Mike's also got to be like, that's a good idea, or why? Like, I agree with you, Gus. Like, let's see what the kid's made of. I mean, I guess Alabama's not the best time to throw guys out there, but if these guys keep stringing together good scrimmages, I can't imagine that Mike would be like, well, let's hold up, let's pump the brakes on that guy. If they're making plays in these scrimmages, man, let's see what they do in games from the jump.
Yeah, no, I know it's a bummer that it's out, but I'm saying, like, he doesn't. These aren't Malzahn's guys. I mean, I guess Kromah is, so maybe that goes against what I'm saying. But like, and Sawchuk is to an extent. But like, usually like Jimbo would usually play the upperclassmen. Famously, he played Mario Pender over Dalvin Cook until Mario Pender sprained his ankle against Syracuse. Like, he would go with the veterans, guys that have been in the program a little longer. You just trust them more. In that Clemson game where they ended up beating Clemson in overtime when Jameis was suspended, I think Dalvin Cook had 1 carry in that game. And obviously Dalvin Cook ended up being pretty good. Ran for 1,000 yards that year, but had a hard time getting on the field initially. And I could see that happening a little bit with Kromah, because coaches do worry about just the gravity of a game and a true freshman being thrown into that. Some dudes are special. Cam Akers played against Alabama as a true freshman. Didn't do much because they didn't do much, but he got a few carries in that game. I think it'll be the same with Kromah. And if he rips off a couple of big ones, well, then hold the phone. You might have a real one. But that's the beauty, man. It's not like, I don't think the dip between 2025 Ousmane Kromah in late August and Gavin Sawchuk, I don't think there's that big a discrepancy right now. By the time we get to October, November, maybe there will be. Maybe Kromah proves to be the next great one. But right now, as he's learning, he's still just 6 weeks into being a college kid because he wasn't here in the spring. I think it's relatively even. But I think, or maybe Sawchuk's way ahead. I don't know. But I think that the beauty is you don't have to play a guy that's not talented instead of the true freshman. Like, I think Sawchuk can get it done, too. They have options. They have options literally at every position. Like, I still, the wide receiver is the one that worries me the most, because I don't know after Squirrel White and Deuce if you're confident in these other guys to step up right away. But that doesn't mean they're not talented. It's just mean they haven't done it yet.
I can live with not having a number 3 receiver in the Gus Malzahn offense, but I understand your point. I definitely understand your point, Corey.
I also think Boggs might be the guy. And but also,
did we hear about him after the scrimmage on Sunday? I feel like it's been a few days, which makes me panic.
No, we know he made some catches in Jacksonville. I think Jalen Lucas made some big plays in Jacksonville. That is a guy too that we didn't hear about in the scrimmage. But it's not like it's an embarrassment of riches when you're coming off 2-10. So I'm not going to phrase it like that. But I would think that Jalen Lucas can do everything Micahi Danzy can do from that kind of position standpoint if you're just getting him the ball in space on like a bubble or something. He's not as fast as Micahi Danzy because there's only like 9 people in the world that are as fast as Micahi Danzy. But on a football field against Alabama, I would trust that Jalen Lucas can make a play in that scenario, in that setting, maybe better than Micahi Danzy right now just because of the age gap. But it's cool that you have a Danzy and a Lucas. And you have a Squirrel and a Boggs and a Robinson, and you have a Pittman and a Landon Thomas and an Amari Williams, meaning you in Sawchuk and Kromah, you have veterans with young guys who might be supremely talented, might be really talented. That's a good combination as opposed to, and they're proven, the older guys, they're proven, as opposed to unproven older guys and not all that skilled younger guys. Like, I think Boggs is the real deal, man. Boggs and Kromah are the real deal. I think that I don't hesitate in saying that. These guys are going to play, and they're going to play a lot while they're here. And they might end up both being like all-conference, all-American type players. They're the real deal. It's just a matter of how quickly they can adapt to college football under real lights when they're actually getting to play in Doak for an entire game, Aslan, instead of for 40 plays. It's going to be the whole game.
Proven combos include the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill having awesome food and delicious ice-cold drink. 2475 Appalachia Parkway, cptallybar.com, the website. Today's lunch special, half-pound all-black Angus beef burger with a side dish of your choice for only $8.99 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Tomorrow, trivia starting up at 7 o'clock sharp. Thursday night, bingo night, 4 rounds, $1,000 up for grabs total throughout the course of the night. Maybe even some live music this weekend, everybody. Whatever your heart delights. Frivolity, football, festiveness. It's all at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, cptallybar.com, the website. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Shake it and take it. All right, Corey, I'm excited that the offense seems to be performing well, making big plays, moving the ball, matriculating it down the field. But we did hear about James Williams. He was asked about James Williams, courtesy of our own Irish O'Fell. So let's just use this segment to talk about Jerry, James, Jenkins, and Jaden, I guess. Which one do you want to start with first? Is it James Williams? We mentioned Jenkins in the first segment is actually out there scrimmaging. Jaden Jones gets a name drop again. Or Jeremiah Wilson, who, if we want to be nitpicky, has been on the receiving end of some of these highlight plays that we're seeing on Twitter. But they did give him a nice FaceTime for about 5 seconds towards the end of one of those videos from Jacksonville of him doing a PBU. But then he adds an interception to start off Sunday. Feels like these 4 guys, the way their season goes largely could dictate how Florida State's season goes. But I guess let's maybe start with James Williams. What kind of answer did we get from Mike Norvell about whether or not he's developing as more than just simply a pass rush threat?
Well, it was a positive one, but I thought we have to mention that that was unsolicited when he brought up James Williams the first time.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. When he brought him up initially, it was unsolicited. I think it was during his opening monologue about guys that stood out on defense, and he was the first guy he mentioned. Might have been the only guy he mentioned in his opening monologue, but said he showed up again. I think he phrased it like that. It's Norvell speak. Showed up, made some plays, flashed, whatever he said. But that makes me think that he had a couple of sacks. Or was in the backfield a good bit on passing downs. But then so then Ira asked him about, is he developing into that every down player? Because that was the first 5 minutes of practice this fall, was his defensive line coach telling him he's just a pass rush specialist. For all of us to hear. Now, he was doing it like trying to motivate him. Like, you're more than that, but that's what they say about you. So it's fair to ask that. It's also fair because Williams admitted that he has a hard time keeping weight on in Tallahassee Heat. He dropped 7 pounds of practice, and he clearly doesn't look like the biggest guy out there. But he's listed at whatever he is, 255, 256, something like that, and he can move. And Norvell's answer was a positive one because I think he's learned his lesson, our man Mike Norvell, that he wouldn't just say, I think he has a chance to be a great player here, just to, say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you think he would do that, or do you think?
I hope not.
Now he has to truly believe that before he puts that kind of pressure on someone, right?
You'd think so. Yeah, lesson would be learned, I'd hope.
Yeah. So with that context of me thinking he's learned his lesson from those kind of declarations, to then come out after a scrimmage on Sunday and when he's asked specifically about James Williams to say he's developing into a guy that I think can be a great player here. That's high praise, and it's not hollow praise. I think it's high praise, and I think there's some truth to that. Again, he is a guy that his defensive line coach has said it could be a one and done, probably should be a one and done. They think the world of him as a potential as a defensive end. So I think he's the one that dictates the defense more than the other Jays that you mentioned. But they're all going to play a big role, clearly. But that guy might be the guy. Like, he might be the guy that when they're doing when Florida State's defense is running onto the field in Game 5 and in Game 7 and in Game 9, those broadcasters could be saying, okay, and now you got to watch out for what number is he? I don't even know what number he is.
James Williams is 10?
All right, that's a cool number.
90?
Taking DJ Lundy's number.
I'll look it up.
But, yeah, I don't know his number. I can't remember his number. I wanted to say 40, but he should be 34 in honor of Trev Alberts. One of the great white defensive ends from Nebraska. If I do say, we all remember that if we were watching the 93 National Championship game. That guy was a terror.
Was that Sellers' number, 34?
It was, yeah, I guess he can't wear a Sellers number. That's
Ernie Sims had to do some stuff to get that number, I thought, right? James Williams is number 10, by the way. Yes!
There you go,
yes!
Aslan. Good job, dog. Good job. Yeah, we'll all learn these numbers by the second quarter against Alabama. But, yeah, so I think that's a big development that Norvell mentioned. We know he's going to play, but the fact that Norvell was willing to talk that highly of him after a scrimmage, because I got the impression, I could be wrong, I'm reading into things, but James Williams wasn't mentioned a whole lot by Tony White when we talked to him after the first scrimmage last Monday. And I think it was Monday, maybe it was Tuesday. And he kept saying that there were guys that we thought were going to play better that didn't. And I was like, I wonder who he's talking about in that. And look, I have no idea. I have no inside info. He might have been thinking about somebody completely different or five guys completely different. James Williams might have been awesome in the scrimmage. I just didn't remember hearing his name that much. So the fact that then the next scrimmage, Norvell brings him up unsolicited as the first defensive player he talks about other than Jerry Wilson's interception, I think that's a good sign, man. That's a good sign, and that kid is a unique individual. He's got some unique abilities, and he could be a legitimate impact player on the defense. He's supposed to be. That's why he's here.
If the game was tonight, who would you be more excited to see out there performing? Jayson Jenkins or Jaden Jones? Jaden
Jones.
Expound.
Just for the reasons I talked about last week. Like, I think we know what Jenkins is. He's a solid starter type depth piece. But again, he played 3 years at Tennessee.
Corey, he was one of the most highly sought after guys I said in the spring transfer report or the December portal.
I guess. I mean, he has 7 or 15 tackles in his career. So again,
15 more than Jaden Jones.
That's true, but that's the point. Is like it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. Like although these guys aren't devils, they're good guys. It's the angel you know versus the angel you don't.
The commodity.
But we have no idea. Literally, Jaden Jones could be not good at all and not ready to play. Think who is the guy that transferred in before 2022 from the small school? I want to say Muncie, but that's not right. Munchie? I can't remember the name.
Our guy who ended up going to UMass. He came from a SWAC school.
Yes.
And Cushney. I cannot remember Marcus Cushney.
Okay, Marcus Cushney. There you go, Marcus Cushney. So he was a guy that you're like, well, take a chance on. Maybe he's something. He didn't end up being anything. But, Jane Jones could be that. Or he could be, I don't know, man, Brandon Jenkins. There you go, Brandon. I still got love for you. You're a Tallahassee native, my man. And you were really good before the Liz Frank injury. Really good. Like,
he was awesome.
NFL good. Yeah. That was a tough deal. He should have stayed probably that next year, and he might have been able to play himself into a better draft pick and then stay in the league and all that. But so that's why I just say Jaden Jones, just because the way they talk about him and the fact that we have no idea what he can be. Whereas Jayson Jenkins, I'm not disputing that it's an important piece. I'm not disputing he's going to be a big part of the defense, literally a big part of the defense because of that size and he can move around. It's just that I don't expect him to be a game wrecker. Maybe. There's a small percentage chance. Maybe Jaden Jones is a friggin' game wrecker. He's an offense wrecker. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's trying to wrap your head around, can a guy who hasn't played major Division I football ever, let alone played football in about 3 years, I think, because of all the injuries he's had.
Yeah.
Can he be a player that's going to make an impact? And again, not to like dogpile on Mike Norvell, but when you hear like Tony White talk about him, it gives it a little bit more credibility to this guy can be something, because I would think that maybe he has somewhat of an idea. I think I asked T. Knighton the other day out here in Jacksonville, I'm like, what did you know about Jaden Jones 6 months ago? And he just like pretty much everything, nothing more than you guys knew about the kid. So I would think maybe Mike's got a different kind of prism looking at that kid, and he would judge him perhaps differently. But to hear like Tony White and Terrence Knight say these things about him, I don't know if I quite think he might be this breakout all-conference type player or just a very important part of the rotation, which is still valuable because we were very concerned about this defensive line. And if you get Jayson Jenkins back and all of a sudden Jaden Jones is a solid player, man, that changes, I think, at least the outcome of one football game minimum in your direction. So, but I think I'd say Jenkins right now. I do think that
you just asked me who I was most excited to see play, not like who I think. Because I would tell you right now, honestly, if you ask me who do you think is going to play a bigger role on the defense for Florida State in 2025, I would say Jenkins. But there's that chance because we just don't know that. Like if Jaden Jones was coming from Tennessee and he'd only have 11 tackles in 2 years, I'd be saying the same thing about him. Well, he's what has he done? I'm not excited about him either. But there's that small chance, just because of the unknown, that he might be a real difference maker. It might be a guy that changes the complexion of a couple of games with strip sacks, with tackles in the backfield, forced fumbles, that kind of thing.
You look at the world and that glass on your table as half full, Corey. So wanted to ask you this one. Because, again,
it's actually a Yeti. Okay. I look at my Yeti half full.
Nice. We were at practice all the time, right? So we would be able to see the highs and lows throughout an entire day. Now we're just like all of you mostly, right? We're just kind of looking at these clips that Florida State football releases in a semi-timely fashion. And we talked about the play that Deuce Robinson made last week, and Jeremiah Wilson was the guy that was responsible for him in coverage, or at least ended up being the guy in the frame when that play was made. I think one of the videos they shared from Jacksonville had a catch from Squirrel White. That was a deep shot that seemed to be with Jeremiah Wilson in the frame. There was another catch by Deuce Robinson where Jeremiah Wilson was in the frame, but we did see him make a PBU in that same video in Jacksonville at UNF. And then he makes an interception on Sunday night in the scrimmage. He's one of the guys that you feel you don't have to kind of worry about. He's played so much football. Tony White knows him so well. He's been very productive. Has anything snuck in your head watching any of those videos where you're like, well, you can maybe still be your best cornerback or your second best cornerback, but maybe he's not as shut down as one would hope?
No, I guess I don't know. I guess I'm looking at my Yeti half empty here, because it's like, man, if he was a shutdown, lockdown, All-American type corner, he would be playing in exhibition games in the NFL right now. Like, he's a college football player. So while he was one of the best cornerbacks in the portal, that doesn't mean he's a can't-miss NFL draft pick, number one All-American cornerback. He might be their best cornerback, but I'm expecting Florida State. I don't think he's Azareye'h Thomas, and Azareye'h Thomas was a third-round pick. So I'm not expecting like shut down, lockdown, future NFL draft pick. He could be. I'm not putting a limit to him. I'm just saying I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting a good college cornerback. But guess what, man? Good college cornerbacks get beat. And he's going up against what I think, because he's also those clips are against the best Florida State has on the other side. So he's going up against real college receivers. Like if walk-ons were doing this to him, or if he was doing it against last year's bunch and he was getting beat and giving up touchdowns, I'd be like, yeesh. But he's going up against guys. So, but he's going to give up. He's going to give up catches. He's probably going to give up touchdowns. That's just the nature of that position. What I want to know is he's going to make plays when he gets a chance to make a play. Because that's one thing, and Norvell's lamented it. One of the things he's lamented for the first 10 days is how they haven't intercepted passes, even though they've been in position. So at least he did that and made a really good play. Right. And again, I just think that personality and that leadership, yeah, man, it's going to suck when he gives up a touchdown, but they all do, except for Deion. Deion didn't probably give up a touchdown his last couple of years. Everybody else did. T-Buck gave up touchdowns a lot. He also intercepted 12 passes in 1 year. I shouldn't say a lot, T-Buck. I apologize for that. He gave up a few in 1991, but he also had 12 interceptions. Like, you're gonna give up some when you make those kind of plays. So I'm not worried about him like being a weak link of this football team. I think, and if he's not playing well, you got guys that you can put in there. I think they got dudes that they can try out there. They got bodies, probably talented bodies that they can try. But I think the guy can play. But I think it's a good sign that he had a pick on a really good play on Sunday. I think it's a good sign that your wide receivers that we all want to see in action, they're making plays against him too. That's good on good. He's not going again. In these clips, he's only facing the best that Florida State's got. It's 1v1, and sometimes you lose those battles. I think he could go to the Seminoles production people and be like, "Hey, man,
blur me out.
How's about getting that interception up on social media real quick?"
Yeah.
All y'all do is show me getting bossed or show Deuce Robinson. And that was even the one they showed from last week, the first scrimmage. Yes, Deuce was by him, and a good throw, that's a walk-in touchdown. But he really did a nice job of fighting for the ball. Deuce just made a great play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it was thrown behind him. He had to slow down a little bit. But he's really in there with his hands fighting. He got out of phase, and he was behind Deuce Robinson. But I thought that play said a lot about Deuce Robinson, too.
Yeah. Well, a lot easier to swallow when it's Deuce making the play, not Ryan Williams. But
I'm going to go ahead and let Ryan Williams go make some plays.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He's going to make some plays on you. If you task Jeremiah Wilson with following that kid all over the field, that's not going to be a fun day. You've got to bracket him. You've got to do some different things. You cannot go one-on-one with that kid, but he's going to do that to everybody in that league. So there's no now. He needs to make sure the Virginia wide receivers and the Stanford wide receivers aren't getting behind him.
True.
That or the Kent State guys.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna judge him because he has a hard time covering Ryan Williams. So a lot of people do.
Definitely not a weak link at all for this defense, but maybe he's a microcosm of just kind of the way that the Tony White system works, where we might have to live with some of these bigger plays being made at the expense of actually, jumping on a route or two and making an interception, which I think right now, talking about in the comfort of our homes in early August, like, I'll take that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's going to give up some big plays because of the nature of the defense, but I also think it's going to make more big plays. I think that's kind of what it's designed to do. Hopefully these guys, the guys in the back end, are reacting quickly, are reading eyes quickly, and can make those plays. It's hard to know because they weren't asked to do it that much the last few years. But in this defense, they're going to have their eyes in the backfield a lot. And that's a good thing for interceptions. It's also a really good thing for double moves in a pump fake. A pump fake, all of a sudden, why is that guy 20 yards open? Well, the corner and the safety were both playing a zone, and they both bid on the pump fake because they both had their eyes on the quarterback. So that can be manipulated and used against them. But more often than not, if you've got guys that are using their eyes well and can react and play the position, that bodes for PBUs and interceptions. And so you're willing to take some of the big play. The problem last year is they gave up big plays, they gave up a ton of points, and didn't create any turnovers.
Small
the worst of both worlds.
Ah, yes, the dog days of summer are here. For a lot of folks, that means sending the kids off to college. For a lot of you, it means you're going to be going off to college. Ask for a gift on your way out. Ask for security. Ask for style. Mom and dad, help your kid out going to college. They're going to lose their wallet probably because they're probably going to get a little tipsy one night. And by little, I mean a lot tipsy. And they're going to lose their wallet. When's the last time you guys lost your wallets? Never, right? But I lost my wallet all the time in college. I wish I had Ridge and their great wallets that now have AirTag compatibility. So get your Apple AirTag, slips right into your money clip on your Ridge wallet. You lose your wallet, quote unquote. You didn't really lose it. You're going to know where it's at because you can track it with the AirTag. Ridge gives you the goods. And they also give you the peace of mind of a lifetime warranty, free shipping, 99-day risk-free trial. Give it a try. Treat yourself. Also treat that young man or woman in your life that's going and seeking out higher education. Use the promo code WAKEUP over at ridge.com to save on your order. Again, the promo code WAKEUP over at ridge.com.
We are back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. I like putting you a little bit on the spot back there, Corey. I'm going to give you 3 more questions of similar variety, but going to frame it with, I'm going to give you 2 players. You got to pick which one would be best for Florida State if they were to live up to, I don't want to say the hype, but if they would live up to the lofty expectations one could have for them based on their stature, their recruiting ranking, and things of that nature. Are you ready?
So what's best for Florida State?
Yes, like if you had the option of one of these guys balling out versus the other, like I'm going to give you 2 dudes. You can only pick one that's going to ball out. Which do you think ends up being a better thing for Florida State this year?
Got it. Locked and loaded. Locked. I'm ready for it.
Deuce Robinson or Earl Little?
Deuce Robinson. Should I expound?
Yeah, we didn't even hesitate on that one.
Yeah, I just think it's not fair to Deuce, but when it comes to big wide receivers, you think of what Johnny Wilson did for the offense. Sometimes you make everything else breaks down, quarterback's being hit, but you throw it up to the biggest guy on the field and he goes and makes a big play. You can't defend that. And Kelvin Benjamin, same thing. These 6'6" guys that can move, they are a matchup nightmare. And I just think that if he plays at that kind of – all he has to do, Aslan, is beat Kelvin Benjamin. That's all we're asking. But if he plays at that Kelvin Benjamin level, I guess I would just put it like this, like Kelvin Benjamin versus Terrence Brooks.
Well, I think
like
what about Kelvin
who was
Benjamin?
A bigger deal for that team?
Kelvin Benjamin versus LaMarcus Joyner.
Kelvin over everybody on the defense. Like legitimately, like he was such a safety blanket for a freshman quarterback. Now that was a really good freshman quarterback, but he was such a comfort blanket and a safety blanket and unguardable once he hit his stride. Like the second half of that, really the last 8 games of that season, he was unguardable. He's one of the best receivers in America. If Deuce Robinson, I know he's not going to be Kelvin Benjamin, but if he can be like a combination of Johnny and Kelvin, somewhere in that mix even, I think that's a bigger deal than Earl Little being a good rover.
I've already regretted all these. I think they're going to be too easy for you.
Oh, good. Well, I like those.
He's your projected starting left tackle, man. Gunnar Hansen having a fantastic season, or James Williams having a fantastic season?
Yeah, I think like Gunnar Hansen versus Earl Little would have been a good question. But no, I still think it's the same thing. I think it's the impact that a dominant wide receiver has on a football game is very similar to the impact a dominant defensive end has on a football game. So I would always choose the more dominant position. And I guess I would – now left tackle is important too. But I would say when you look at these the contracts that all these NFL guys are signing, quarterbacks are obviously number one. I think wide receivers are second highest paid and defensive ends are third highest paid. And that's the reason. I mean, they completely can flip a game and change the whole complexion of a game just by having a dominant player at that one position. So, yes, I would still – I'm not saying Gunnar Hansen isn't important, but I would say the James Williams piece is a bigger piece.
Consolation
What's the next
bracket.
one? Is the next one, let me guess, is it Weinberg versus Tommy Castellanos?
Rude.
Sorry, Aslan.
Rude. I'm trying something different here.
By the way, real quick before I know we're at the end of the show, that's one thing that I thought was interesting when we talked to Norvell, the last scrimmage. I don't think we mentioned that Weinberg missed a couple kicks during that scrimmage. That's something we're not talking about at all.
We're not.
That is a really big deal.
Yeah.
No, not just we as in everyone.
Well,
Because Fitzgerald was so good the last 2 years, even though I didn't get to kick much last year, and the punting too. Those are big shoes to fill. And this team is going to play some close games. And as a freshman kicker, going to be able to make clutch kicks in the third and fourth quarter to put games away or to give your team the lead. Like, that's something we still don't know about this team. So anyways, go ahead. What's the third one?
Well, I'll say the third one. Consolation bracket, Gunnar or Earl?
Earl.
Okay. Winner's bracket.
That's a good question. It's a good question.
Winner's bracket, Deuce or James?
I'm still going to say Deuce just because I lean towards the offense. Like what you said at the top of the show, it was so bad last year. I'm leaning. If there's going to be one dominant player on each side only one on a side of the ball, I'm going to choose offense.
At face value, this might be easy. Might be too easy, but I don't think it is. I mean, come on, work with me here. Play TV, play radio.
All right.
Uzmain Kromah or Daryl Jackson?
That's your best one.
I think.
Why did you think it was easy? Because of Daryl?
Well, I saved it for last, hoping maybe I could rally there. But yeah, just you think about if Uzmain Kromah plays at a level like a 5-star running back in a Gus Malzahn offense, how important that could be. If he's an R.J. Harvey, if he's a Kerryon Johnson, if he's a poor man's Trey Mason. I mean, because Trey Mason was a Heisman finalist, I'm not expecting that. But if he gives you something really off the charts like that as a true freshman, versus Daryl Jackson gives you like a first-round defensive lineman kind of production. I wonder, what would be best for Florida State? What would you think?
I think I'm going to lean towards Daryl Jackson, but it's not as slam dunk as I think you thought it was, just because, like you said, a special running back changes everything. But there are two factors there. Number one, the biggest factor to me is who's behind Daryl Jackson. I think that discrepancy it's a wide chasm between Daryl Jackson at the top of his game, the talent level, and whoever's behind him. So that drop-off there is a pretty steep one, in my opinion. Now, Kromah's drop-off between Kromah and, say, Sawchuk, I don't know that it's so steep that it completely changes the complexion of the offense. I think losing Daryl Jackson would completely change the complexion of the defense. But yeah, man, if Kromah is one of these special guys, I mean, what does Auburn do without Trey Mason? Like those special, what is Florida State in 2015 and 16 without Dalvin Cook? Like special running backs change everything. I don't know that he's special. We'll have to see, and I certainly don't expect him to be special this season, at least not early in the year. But if he is, yeah, man, that's a I keep saying it, but those change games. Those guys are really, really, really important. So we'll see. But I just think starting out, and also I want. Oh, this was the other factor. You also have a dynamic runner already in the backfield. So even if your running back isn't a great, if your running backs are just kind of pedestrian early on, your quarterback isn't pedestrian as a runner. So you can always lean on that. You don't have any other things you can lean on that are anything close to Darrell Jackson in the middle of that defense.
On the way out, the content that keeps on giving, Jimbo Fisher's appearance on Freddie Stevenson's podcast. I think I saw something pulled out there that Jimbo said this on the pod, and I think you might have said something like this several years back. But when people look back on the 2012 team and you see all the guys that ended up being integral to what happened in 2013 and how many of them weren't there in 2013 and did stuff in the NFL, you're like, wow, this 2012 team might have kind of underachieved. What if they would have played that freshman quarterback from Hueytown, Alabama a little bit earlier?
Yeah.
But Jimbo's thing apparently sounded like if that 2012 team had Greg Reed, he thinks.
Is that who he was talking about?
That's what I saw on the internet, my friend.
Yeah, so I watched a good portion of that interview, and it's good. It's certainly entertaining.
It's 2 hours, isn't it?
Well, no, I think it's an hour with Jimbo and then an hour with something else.
Okay.
It moved on to something else, and I stopped watching. So, yeah, Freddie did a great job. Freddie was always good to talk to here, too. So I would encourage people to go watch that or listen to it because that's the first time I really remember Jimbo for an hour talking about his time at Florida State. So it really goes in depth, and they really reminisce about that team in particular, the 12 and 13 and 14 teams. But Jimbo at one point said I had to kick somebody off. It was he got a raw deal. I didn't want to do it, and that would have been he would have played we needed him for he was talking about 2012. So I guess it would have been Greg Reed, right?
Yeah, man.
Because that would have been Reed's senior year. Because they had mentioned Greg Reed earlier in the interview. So then when he didn't say his name at this incident or this time, I was like, oh, well, who am I forgetting that he kicked off? Is there somebody I don't know about? But, yeah, it probably was Greg Reed. Greg Reed would have helped. Yeah, that would have helped a lot. Sure. I don't know if he changes the Florida game.
We get off the field against NC State, though, brother. We get off the field if we got Greg Reed back there.
Well, he also might have returned a kick for a touchdown and put it on ice, or returned a punt for a touchdown. He might have put the game on ice that way. Yeah, that's a guy that just, you always wonder with him. I don't know what kind of NFL career he would have had, but, yeah, he did kind of honestly get a raw deal. Jimbo's not wrong about that. But what I thought was really entertaining is when they're talking about the dogs they had on that team.
Yes, sir.
Lamarcus first and foremost, but Jameis too. Like it's a really interesting, entertaining interview. And I don't want to get into this too much. We can talk about this later. But I just, Jimbo brings me back in. I'm all excited. I'm like, all right, Jimbo, this is fun. Every time I hear him talk, I think about having to transcribe it, and I slowly go mad. But because he just so many stops and starts and pivots in the middle of sentences and not saying the full sentence, so you have to kind of guess what word he was going to use there. But it's a really cool trip down memory lane. It's a sort of recent memory, but a trip down memory lane. But then when he's asked about A&M, and he says, I never wanted to leave. Yeah. It's like, Jimbo, you had me. I was on your side, man. But if you didn't want to leave, why'd you effing leave? You weren't forced out. Nobody fired you. You weren't hung in effigy in your yard like Bowden was at West Virginia. A statue not a statue. What do you call a
paper
doll,
mache thing or something?
A paper mache doll of Bowden. He was hung in effigy in his yard at West Virginia. I think they did that with Dean Smith too. It's crazy how that works. Especially the West Virginia fans, like what they must think. Like, what? We ran off Bobby Bowden? What? Who'd we get after him? How'd we do after that? I mean, Don Nehlen was okay, but he wasn't Bobby Bowden. But anyway, so I was just like, he lost me right there. It's like, Jimbo, just don't say stuff like that. Because then he started talking about it wasn't about the money, which I don't disagree necessarily. He's like, I always try to get more for my assistants, but there were things we needed to, and then he goes into, it's like, man, just don't act like you were forced out. What
if it's like a live omission? Like, I didn't want to leave, but I had to. But he doesn't want to say the second part.
Yeah, but he basically does, right? I guess it's a lot. It's just like it's insinuated. But yeah, I didn't want to leave. I never wanted to leave. And you know what? I never want to leave. It's like, okay, well, that's funny because you left without a gun at your head. You left, and nobody was holding your family ransom. You left on your own for Texas, flipping A&M. So yeah, it's just, and he did say he wanted to coach again. And I tell you what, I'll tell you this about Jimbo. He looks like he's in the best shape he's ever been in.
Yeah, man.
I don't know what he's doing, but me and him, maybe the three of us can be workout partners.
Let's see. He's in town, so.
Yeah, it's what I'm saying. I mean, he looks like he's in really good shape.
All right, that's a wrap for us.
So I brought that up because he said he wanted to coach again. I'm sorry. I don't just look at people in how good, what kind of shape they are anymore, folks. I know I'm in a fitness kick, but I'm not that weird a guy. Yeah. But he does look like he's in good shape, and I think he said he's 59. You could certainly see him doing this for a year and then going somewhere else to coach for sure.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
If he goes to coach somewhere, if he just hires an OC and modernizes his offense and becomes more of a he still gets to be the evaluator. He still gets to be the developer. He still gets to be the recruiter. He just lets somebody else like coach the QBs and coach the offense, and he could be more of the delegator. He would have a chance at a really nice second act, or third act, I guess, in his college career, or his college coaching career.
We'll see. We'll see if it happens, if it materializes. Over under, I think out there is like 2.5 SEC jobs come open, but I don't know if you can hop back in there. But
I don't know, man. Like, why would they hire the guy that A&M just fired? I think he's going to have to start like Lane did, and then have a couple good years there and work himself up, maybe.
Okay.
Or maybe he'll be at Colorado.
How'd Shadur do? Is Stephanie coming around to maybe that being
She's
a starting
very
quarterback?
she was fired up about it. He did really well.
Okay.
He did really well. So I assume the Browns are about to win 5 Super Bowls in a row.
Nice. All right, I'm going to be shuttling down Interstate 10 as you folks are listening to this. Probably. I apologize for the first 20 minutes of the show and my audio being the way it was. I'll do better.
Maybe that's my fault for not pointing it out, but I don't want to interrupt you when you're on a roll. So fine. that could be on me. You didn't know. How would you know?
Well, I'm going to know soon. I'm going to have a whole new setup, both in Jacksonville and in Tallahassee, to where I'll be able to live monitor my voice, which
nice.
It's something I should have had. I don't have, and I'm not going to bore you folks with the details. I don't even know how the details work, but God bless AI for laying it all out for me in the setup that I need to do it. So Godspeed for all of us. All right, that's a wrap for us. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock. Before then, Tony White, Gus Malzahn at the podium. We'll ask them all about the scrimmage, get some more of their thoughts, and then we'll do a podcast all about it. And then you can check out even more coverage over at warchant.com. There's recruiting stuff going on as well. Matt Lasser and Michael Langston got that over at warchant.com as well. On 3, that's part of the warchant.com experience. Ross Dellinger, Josh Pate, part of the family now. You can read Kane Sport. You can read whatever, I think Inside Florida or Inside Gators, whatever they're calling that site these days. It's all part of the experience. Come home. Join warchant.com. He's Corey Maslon. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com.